Hey guys, Jay! Welcome back to the channel. So guys, this one's going to be a bit of a different video for me. I mean, I did a whole video on video game characters, specifically Street Fighter 2 figures from Jada Toys, which is my last video. And if you haven't seen that already, definitely check it out. I'm really excited about those figures, and I hope you guys are too. But that led me down a completely different rabbit hole looking for additional fighting game figures. And then that led me to something completely different connected to Hasbro and their properties, but with statues? And not just any statues. Statues that are completely different than what I was expecting. Guys, if you enjoyed this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I post up to 2 episodes a week, and I hope you guys enjoy. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you guys will always know when new episodes are posted. Guys, without further ado, let's take a deep dive into this and take a look at what kotobukiya statues are with their Bishojo, Beautiful Girl series. Let's have a look. Guys, I was so excited about the Ultra Street Fighter 2 figures that were posted up on Entertainment Earth the other day, which I did a whole video, and if you haven't seen that, definitely take a look. It's really exciting, these figures that have come out, and I really can't wait until we get them into our hands. But that led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, because I started doing random searches for Capcom products, and that led me to Marvel vs. Capcom, of course, the Jada figures, a whole bunch of different crossovers and tie-ins, Power Rangers and Street Fighter crossovers, and so many more like Mega Man and things that I really love. And that, of course, led me to other searches like Namco, where I just found out that a brand new set of Tekken figures are going to be released soon, and I probably am going to take a look at those a little bit closer. But when I finally came down to SNK, if you're a fighting game fan, you have to know SNK for their King of Fighters series and Fatal Fury. Of course, I recognize Samurai Shodown's Jubei. Very cool to be seeing him. I recognize Mai Shiranui, Fatal Fury, and King of Fighters series. But then I saw this figure here, which kind of threw me for a loop. You guys might remember that a number of years ago, SNK released SNK Heroines for the Switch and other platforms. And this is a poor attempt at all-female fighting game for SNK, featuring pretty much every single heroine they've ever put in any of their fighting games, some who are actually not even in some fighting games. It was received with a lot of mixed reviews. It really is just one of those fantasy-type games which, yeah, for the most part, it's just a money grab for SNK. One thing that really got people's attention is when they decided to throw in Terry Bogard, but not your traditional Terry Bogard. Obviously, that would be kind of weird in a all-female fighter. No, this was a gender-swapped Terry Bogard. What? Yeah, this is actually kind of crazy. In typical Japanese fashion, they went ahead and swapped the gender of Terry Bogard. They obviously gave Terry a crazy outfit for what he wears. I mean, Terry has more clothes than this whenever he goes into battle. But, I mean, yeah, a lot of people were, once again, kind of, oh, it's just, you know, a Japanese type of fighting game. We kind of expect that kind of thing. And that, for the most part, was it for me in terms of my knowledge for SNK Heroines. But going down that rabbit hole, as I said today, I had no idea that the company Kotobukiya actually made several statues for the SNK Heroines. That's kind of blew me away. I mean, I really wasn't expecting to see Terry Bogard in a statue figure form. Kind of surprised that this was a thing. And this kind of led me down another crazy rabbit hole, because I was like, I guess now I gotta find out if there are any other figures that have been coming out from this type of line. I mean, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. You can see Fatal Cutie here. That's just hilarious. Oh my gosh. Why would Terry be wearing this? I mean, he just got morphed into a girl as far as I can tell. It's one of those funny things that happens in Japanese video games. I don't know. But again, this led me down a different type of rabbit hole, and I started looking at some of the other offerings that the Kotobukiya Bishojo series, as they call it, offered. And I found out soon that there were a ton of different crossover figures that Kotobukiya had actually licensed for this particular line. Of course, there are your typical video game characters like Morgan from Darkstalkers, which is pretty much a given, Athena from King of Fighters 98, and they were even licensing Marvel characters such as Mighty Thor, where Jane Foster actually becomes Thor for a time. But then something else caught my eye, and I noticed that they had a couple of Transformer type figures, and that's where I went down a completely different rabbit hole. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, guys. Hasbro has been licensing out their characters to multiple companies, as we already know. But this is a very unique way of doing it. The kind of gender swapping, and in this case, transfiguration from robots to human beings. that is something I think is incredibly unique, and I wanted to just take a deeper dive to examine exactly what the heck I'm looking at here. On the Kotobukiya website, one of the first Transformer characters we see is Bumblebee, followed soon thereafter by Megatron and Optimus Prime. And that kind of really blew me away, so I really wanted to take a look at these guys. Megatron is obviously the leader of the Decepticons and is incredibly evil, but trying to reimagine him as a humanoid female couldn't have been easy. I mean, the guy's basically a gun. So what Kotobukiya has done here with their Bishojo series figure, I gotta say, I'm kind of impressed. I wasn't expecting to see some sort of militaristic take on Megatron. That's not what I was thinking of when I was thinking of a tyrant who's out to rule Cybertron. I never thought of a sort of uniformed officer for this type of take, but looking at this version, I do have to say, this would really be an interesting sort of parallel universe, if you will. And I really gotta tell you, I'm kind of impressed at the way Kotobukiya's designers have put this one together. The sculptor Tsubame has done an incredible job here. I mean, take a look at this. Here we see Megatron as a humanoid female, and you can see just an absolute level of confidence in her appearance. And surprisingly enough, for this type of character, it's not overly sexualized. I mean, yes, there is some sort of sex appeal there, but for the most part, in terms of like the other figures I've seen in the line, it's kind of subdued here with this particular character. She has her overcoat just slung over her shoulders, almost like a cape, and that's really kind of striking. I love the gray hair, which is denoting the fact that this particular figure is a little bit older in age compared to figures like Optimus Prime. I mean, give or take 10 million years apart, they are rather old in and of themselves, but I like the idea that this particular figure is a little bit more mature. There really are a lot of callbacks to Megatron's original form here. I mean, we have the Decepticon symbol right in the middle of that necktie, and the elephant in the room is obviously the Periscope fusion cannon, which is the signature weapon of Megatron when he's in robot form. You cannot mistake this for not being part of Megatron, and thus unifies the entire piece, bringing everything together. The figure stands on this wonderful looking Decepticon stand, and I really do love the color choices, which is beautifully laid out. Here we have Megatron standing beside Optimus Prime, who we're going to take a look at in a second. But yeah, this honestly is something I wasn't expecting when I was looking through Kotobukiya's catalog of video game characters. Seeing Megatron here now really does pique my interest. This deluxe edition comes with a limited edition standee card, which actually has the full illustration of the original design created for this version of Megatron. Optimus Prime, on the other hand, has a completely different take on the character. More of a tomboy, kind of rough and tumble type of human female. But there's so many different callbacks to Optimus Prime, it's not even funny. I do love the color choices here. They really are reminiscent of the character. The moment you see her standing there, it automatically takes you back and says, wait a second, you kind of look like Optimus Prime. And that to me is a win in and of itself. We can see here that the character has so many different nods to Optimus Prime, unlike Megatron's design, which is a little bit more subtle and actually kind of disguises the fact that this is supposed to be an homage to a Transformer. There are no visible parts actually attached to this particular character other than the waist belt, which in and of itself is actually cleverly integrated into her overall attire. Optimus Prime is much more in your face about it. I mean, we can see that this particular Optimus Prime must be some sort of gearhead. She's carrying a satchel or tool case that actually has wheels embedded into it, which are reminiscent of the trailer which Optimus Prime pulls around. Not only that, but looking closer to her feet, we actually see that she's actually got wheels attached to her anklets. What the heck? This is crazy. Again, really throwing it into your face that this is some sort of cybernetic human being, or maybe even just a tech junkie who's attached multiple accessories onto her attire to make it easier for her to get around. To really drive the point home, Optimus has a face mask. Now, she would fit in really well during the global pandemic that was happening around that time, but one of the things that we notice is the way Tsubame, who sculpted this piece, actually created her hairstyle along with her shades and the mask itself. This literally does harken to an idea of Optimus Prime. We can actually see that some of the hairs become her antennae. The little Princess Leia style buns become the radials that actually form Optimus Prime's ears. And if she were to put down these shades, that would complete the overall transformation of her face to a robotic form. And I'm pretty sure by now you've already recognized that the Matrix is actually slung around her neck exactly the way it was with Galvatron. Wonderful nods to the original series. I also love the fact that her belt, once again, is lifted from the original Optimus Prime figure. Taking a closer look at the boots themselves, this really is a callback to Optimus Prime's feet. And the legs themselves at the top of the stockings really do have those wonderful details that everyone can recognize as Optimus Prime. I really enjoy this take on Optimus Prime. It's more youthful than Megatron and really does showcase the difference between the Autobots and the Decepticons. Optimus is standing on an Autobot symbol very much the same way as Megatron. It's just another wonderful take on a character who we've all known for so many years and now reimagined as a humanoid female. And here we can definitely see the parallels between the actual Optimus Prime and his Bishojo counterpart. This is just so much fun, and honestly, if I was into collecting statues, this would definitely be on my radar. Much like Megatron, she comes with a limited edition card standee in this deluxe pack out. The most current figure in the line is Bumblebee. I really like this take on the character. Now, in terms of simple cosplay, it really wouldn't be that difficult to actually create these looks for a cosplay at San Diego Comic-Con, Fan Expo, or Anime Expo, or any of the other major conventions. This would actually be really comfortable for people to wear, and I gotta tell you, kotobukiya has put some real thought into this. But when it comes down to Bumblebee, this is a really quick and simple cosplay that anybody can put together. Tsubame, who sculpted this, really has put a lot of attention to detail. It literally is Bumblebee reimagined as a young humanoid female. Unlike the other two figures, Bumblebee here is very young. I mean, she's looking, you know, somewhere around 15, 16 maybe, in terms of like her overall age. She almost looks like she's going to a club or something with, you know, these baggy type of loose-fitting clothes. But what really ties everything together is definitely that hoodie that she's wearing, giving her the overall appearance of Bumblebee with those tiny little visors in the front. And on the back side of her, it looks like she's got what should be a wheel, but it's actually more like a backpack, which she can put all of her accessories in. She's even sporting Bumblebee's mini blaster, which is so much fun and a real nod to the character itself. This one to me is probably the most imaginative of figures in terms of its size, the idea of youth for Bumblebee, and just the playful attitude that Bumblebee himself has had over the years. The expression on the face really is what sells these characters. They're very anime inspired in their overall design, but I do like the way that looks. All the color choices are really great too, especially where the Autobot symbol is. I mean, signature to how Bumblebee looks in the series, but highlighted by the gray and black trims on the belts and the gloves really do accentuate the idea that Bumblebee had all of these colors on his character. Headlights, bumpers, and of course those black pinstripe lines which are all over the character when he was transformed. I have to say, I'm not that much into statues, but this license is very unique, literally transforming robotic characters into humanoid females. I have to tell you, that's not something that can be done very easily in any regard, as normally with subject matter like this, the tendency is to over-sexualize and make these characters just voluptuous in nature. But this take, I really have to say, is something unique, and I really do respect the fact that Tsubame and the team over kotobukiya have gone in this particular direction. You really can see the parallels between these two designs, and I really have to respect the kind of care and attention with Bumblebee and Optimus Prime. The truth is, we've only touched the surface in terms of what the Bishojo series is for kotobukiya. I mean, they have a ton of different licenses. Their latest acquisition seems to be Star Trek from Discovery. They've also got DC, Marvel, and multiple other Hasbro properties, including G.I. Joe and My Little Pony. That's absolutely crazy. If you guys are interested in any of these figures, I will have affiliate links in the description below. They are $149.99 each, and I think that if you're into statues and of course into Transformers, these are something you definitely should take a look at. They're kind of neat. Thanks again, guys, for using these links. They do help out the channel. I really do appreciate all the support. Guys, let me know if you were just as surprised as I was with this type of line. I mean, I sort of want to explore more of these characters. They do look interesting, and I am actually interested in the way they've designed many of these figures. Some of them a little bit overly sexualized, as expected from this type of media. But, for the most part, in terms of the Transformers line, I have to say, it was rather respectful, and really well done in terms of overall design. Guys, I gotta tell you, that was one crazy rabbit hole. I mean, I went from looking at Capcom figures to looking at, you know, kotobukiya Bishojo, which is another word for beautiful girl, statues, to, you know, their Capcom series, their SNK series, their horror series, you know, and then all of a sudden it went into licenses with Hasbro. And yeah, looking at those Transformer figures, which are transformed robots into humanoid females, really got me into a totally different mindset. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? But I have to say, in terms of what I'm used to for anime and the type of, you know, let's just say overly endowed type of female characters in certain types of anime, I gotta tell you, this was a refreshing take on what would normally be robots into female, you know, Bishojo girls. Like, I was actually really surprised at the overall end product. And I really am now wondering, where's RC? When is RC going to be put into Bishojo form in this line? That will be absolutely crazy in my opinion. However, I do have to say that Megatron, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee really are wonderful takes on these characters. I mean, there have been so many ideas of crossplay and, you know, gender swapping in movies and video games, and I really am surprised at the fact that they actually went ahead and did this with Transformers. However, I gotta tell you, what they've actually done, and, you know, my hat is tipped to the actual sculptors and the team over Kotobukiya for being respectful for the Transformers line in this way. I mean, each of them is actually well designed. I do love the nods to the characters, you know, the wheels on Optimus Prime's feet, you know, the headlight little clusters on Bumblebee, and of course the fusion cannon and little subtle nods like the belts on each of the characters. Those were really wonderfully thought out, and I really appreciate how they look in humanoid form. But guys, let me know in the comment section below, are you interested in these figures at all? And are you into statues? Because as much as I do like the way these characters look, they're not action figures for me. They're actually just statues. And for me, I'm not really into just having something, you know, on my shelf which I can't put in another pose or, you know, have them do battle against each other. It's just one of those things which is not in my wheelhouse. But I do have to say that these character designs have enthralled me, and I am curious if that actually is the same for you. Or are you absolutely not into this type of design, that robots should remain as robots, and actually these type of you know, juxtapositioning or, you know, gender swapping or whatever it is kind of turns you off as a whole, and you wouldn't be buying these, especially considering the price tag of these is rather high, anywhere from $149.99 all the way to $179.99. So they're not cheap in any regard. Please let me know those comments in the comment section below, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, guys, please do leave me a like. It really does help me out. And if you're in the position to help the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon page. It's MegaJRetro on Patreon. Guys, the patrons and channel members of this channel really help me make wonderful episodes every single week, and I couldn't do it without them. They are the best. Thank you so much for your support, everybody. It really means the world to me. Guys, I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Till all are one. Good journey. Geek proud. I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon and channel member supporters. Thank you so much, everybody. It's thanks to your support that this channel continues to grow, and I really could not have done this without you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support, guys. It really means a lot and really helps the channel to keep growing.